Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. I used to think love was built on trust, until I learned how easily trust can be traded for attention. My name's Liam Carter, 34, a construction project manager from Denver. I wasn't rich, but I worked hard. I woke up at 5, packed lunches for both of us, kissed my wife, Rachel, before she left for a marketing job downtown, and told myself we were building something solid, something that would last. For 7 years, I believed that lie. It started small. Late replies, client dinners, a perfume I didn't recognize. She began locking her phone, something she'd never done before. When I'd ask about it, she'd smile like I was being paranoid and change the subject. But it wasn't just that. It was the way she'd walk in at midnight, laughing under her breath, scrolling her phone like she couldn't care less that I'd been waiting with cold dinner on the table. One night, I stayed awake pretending to sleep. She tiptoed in at 1:45 a.m., whispered something in her phone, and chuckled softly before slipping into bed. Her back turned to me like I was a stranger. The next morning, she said she'd slept at her friend's place after a late meeting. I didn't argue. I just said, right? Hope the meeting went well. She froze, just for a second, and then kept pouring her coffee. That's when I knew. But catching a liar isn't the hard part. It's what you do afterward that defines you. So I waited, quietly, patiently. I started leaving home earlier, pretending I had extra shifts, while actually meeting with a private investigator, Mark Daniels, an old buddy from college who owed me a favor. 2 weeks later, Mark slid a brown envelope across my truck's dashboard. Inside were photos, grainy but clear enough. Rachel, same black dress, same smile, same man. Her client, a tall, polished guy with slicked back hair. Eric Hollis, her department's regional director. Married. 2 kids. I stared at those pictures until my knuckles went white. I could have screamed. I could have confronted her. But instead, I whispered something to myself that I hadn't in years. She doesn't get to win. From that night forward, I changed everything. No more begging for answers. No more fights at midnight. I turned cold, calm, distant. I smiled when she spoke, laughed when she lied, and slowly, quietly, began preparing my revenge. She had no idea I was setting the stage. I let her believe she was free, stayed kind, even helped her plan her work trips. But I was documenting every receipt, every lie, every conference she didn't attend. Then came that night. The night her mask cracked for good. It was 2:04 a.m. when my phone buzzed. A message flashed across the screen. I'm done being treated like your property. You don't owe me, Liam. I stared at it for a moment, feeling something shift inside me. Not anger, not heartbreak, just clarity. I typed back one line that ended it all, then stopped coming home pretending to be my wife. I hit send. 5 minutes later, my phone lit up, 15 missed calls. Her power had finally slipped. And I wasn't done yet. Her calls came one after another, rings that echoed through the dark room like an alarm that wouldn't stop. I didn't answer a single one. Instead, I sat on the couch, staring at the muted TV, the glow of the screen washing over me, as if the world had gone quiet for the first time in years. It wasn't the noise that hurt. It was the realization that I'd been living with someone who looked me in the eye every day and still managed to lie without flinching. When Rachel finally stopped calling, I knew what came next. The panic, the guilt, the scramble to fix what she'd broken. But I wasn't interested in fixing anything anymore. I was interested in truth and consequences. At 6:30 that morning, I got ready like any other day. Made coffee, buttoned my shirt. But this time, I didn't leave my wedding ring on. When Rachel walked in, her hair a mess and mascara smeared, she froze. You didn't answer my calls, she said, voice trembling. I looked at her calmly. You texted me that you're not mine to control, so I figured you wouldn't want to pick up. She opened her mouth to speak, then shut it again. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was powerful. I'd spent months chasing her truth, but now she was the one standing in the corner of a lie she couldn't escape. I grabbed my jacket and walked out without another word. For the next few weeks, I acted normal, almost too normal. I'd smile when she talked about work, nod when she mentioned late meetings, and even offer to drive her sometimes. She declined, of course. Always did. Perfect. That was exactly what I needed. I had already spoken to Mark, the investigator, about taking things further. "You sure about this, man?" he asked. "Once you do it, there's no going back." I smirked. She made her choice. I'm just making mine. We dug deeper. Financial records, messages, social media check-ins. Rachel was slipping. She'd booked hotels under her maiden name, rented rooms during marketing seminars, even bought a necklace on his birthday, Eric's birthday. I didn't need more proof. What I wanted was timing. A clean strike. One that left her exposed in the same spotlight where she used to mock me. So I waited until the company's annual gala, the one Rachel wouldn't stop bragging about. She said she'd be home late, as usual. I told her that's fine. Knock yourself out. She smirked, kissed my cheek like it meant nothing, and left wearing the same perfume I'd once bought her on our 3rd anniversary. I followed from a distance, not to confront her, but to end it right. Mark had arranged a quiet favor with the event security, enough access to see without being seen. From the mezzanine, I watched as Rachel laughed at a table full of executives, Eric's hand brushing her lower back when she thought no one noticed. The flash of camera followed, subtle but deliberate. I wasn't the one holding it. Mark was. I didn't need to dirty my hands. I'd let the truth do it for me. The next day, I called Eric's wife. Her voice was steady at first, then broke halfway through the conversation. "I knew it," she whispered. "He's been acting strange for months." I sent her what she needed. Nothing more, nothing less. Just enough truth to light a fire. By Monday, the company's HR inbox exploded with confidential photos from an anonymous source. Rachel was called into her director's office by noon. That evening, she came home pale and shaking. You wouldn't," she stammered. "Liam, they fired me. Eric's wife sent everything to corporate. They're investigating both of us." I looked up from my laptop, pretending to think. "That's awful," I said slowly. "Maybe it's karma for pretending to work late when you were really working on something else." Her voice cracked. "Please, I made a mistake. We can fix this." I cut her off, calm as ever. "You broke something you can't fix, Rachel. I was never trying to control you. I was just trying to love you. You're the one who treated me like an option." She sank onto the floor, her breath trembling, whispering, "You're not this cold." I stood, grabbing my coat. "I wasn't. You made me this way." Over the next few days, the fallout hit hard. Eric was terminated. His wife filed for divorce. Rachel tried to call me nonstop, begging for forgiveness, sending paragraphs of apologies that arrived too late. What she didn't know was that I'd already met with my attorney. The divorce papers were ready, signed, and set to deliver the next morning. My lawyer smiled as he slid them across the table. "You handled this clean," he said. "Not clean," I corrected. "Just right." That night, I blocked Rachel's number, packed my last few things, and walked out of the house that had turned into a graveyard of lies. She once told me I was too controlling. But the truth? I'd only ever try to hold on to something already gone. Now, I was finally letting go, and she was the one who couldn't. The first morning after I left, Denver felt quieter than it had in years. No sound of Rachel's hairdryer, no scent of her perfume floating through the hall. Just sunlight streaming across an empty kitchen and a silence that didn't ache anymore. It felt like peace. I moved into a small apartment overlooking the city, the kind of place I would have never picked before. It was simple, minimal, just me, a bed, and a coffee maker that hissed like it shared my exhaustion. But there was freedom in that emptiness. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for someone to come home and lie to me. Rachel, however, couldn't handle silence the way I could. The moment she realized I blocked her, she started showing up. The first time, it was flowers on my doorstep. The second, a note that said, "We can fix this. Please talk to me." By the third, she was waiting in her car across the street. I didn't confront her. I didn't even open the blinds. I'd already learned that attention is the one thing cheaters crave the most. It feeds their illusion of control. Deny them that, and you strip away everything. But the truth? It wasn't hatred driving me anymore. It was clarity. I wasn't trying to destroy Rachel. I was showing her what her destruction looked like when reflected back at her. Still, guilt has a strange way of finding people. 2 weeks after her firing, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't pick up until I heard her voice. "Liam, please, just let me explain." I said nothing. She went on, breath shaking. "Eric lied. He said his marriage was over, that I meant something. But when everything came out, he cut me off. I lost my job, my friends. I can't even show my face at work events. I need to talk to you. I took a long breath, then spoke quietly. Rachel, I gave you every chance to talk before you burned everything down. You didn't want honesty back then. Why should I want it now? There was silence, then a faint sob. Because I don't know who I am without you. I closed my eyes. That sentence would have broken me months ago. But now, it only confirmed what I already knew. She didn't miss me. She missed control. I ended the call and never looked back. That week, I focused on rebuilding myself. Work picked up, my projects gained recognition, and I started getting offers from other firms. I hit the gym every morning at 5, same time I used to make breakfast for her. The weights replaced the worry. The running replaced the overthinking. Every small routine became a form of redemption. But one afternoon, something unexpected happened. I was at a local cafe near the construction site, sipping coffee and sketching plans, when I heard someone say my name, Liam. I looked up to see Olivia Parker, an architect I'd worked with years ago. She smiled softly, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Didn't expect to see you here. I smiled back. Guess life brought me to your side of town. We caught up, talked about work, travel, and all the things people talk about when they're avoiding the past. But something about her calmness felt grounding. She didn't ask about Rachel. She didn't pry. She just listened, really listened, in a way I hadn't felt in years. That night, I couldn't help but think about her. The warmth in her tone, the simplicity in her questions. For the first time since my marriage fell apart, I felt a flicker of something I thought I'd buried. Hope. Still, I wasn't ready. Not yet. A few days later, Rachel sent me an email. The subject line read, "Please don't ignore this one." Against my better judgment, I opened it. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I wanted you to know I'm getting help. Therapy. My family cut me off, my friends don't answer, and Eric's gone. You were right. I destroyed everything. I'm not asking for another chance. I just wanted to thank you for making me face what I've done. You didn't control me, Liam. You tried to save me. I see that now. I read it 3 times. For a moment, a small part of me wanted to reply, to say I was glad she was changing. But I didn't. Because forgiveness doesn't always need to be spoken. Sometimes, walking away is forgiveness. So I closed the email, archived it, and went on with my day. Weeks turned into months. I kept my distance, focusing on the life I was building. Then, one evening, I got a text from Mark. Thought you should see this. It was a link to a local business article. The headline read, "Former marketing exec Rachel Carter launches nonprofit to help women rebuild after divorce and job loss." I stared at the photo, her smiling faintly at a podium, a new light in her eyes. Not the woman I married, but maybe the woman she was meant to become. And strangely, I wasn't angry anymore. Because in the end, my revenge had never been about humiliation. It was about revelation. She finally saw herself clearly, even if it came at a cost. That night, I sat on my balcony, watching the Denver lights flicker beneath the stars. Olivia had texted earlier, just a simple, "Dinner tomorrow?" And for once, I didn't hesitate. Yeah, I typed back, "Tomorrow sounds good." As the message sent, I realized something. Revenge might start in darkness, but real closure comes when you stop feeding that darkness. Rachel wanted freedom, and she found it in loss. I wanted peace, and I found it in letting go. And maybe, just maybe, both of us finally got what we truly deserved. 6 months later, Denver felt like a different city. Or maybe, I finally started seeing it differently. The mornings were quieter now. No arguments, no tension. Just coffee, sunlight, and the sound of construction starting up downtown. Every day felt like a clean slate. I'd signed the final divorce papers 2 months ago. When the courier handed me the envelope, I didn't feel triumph or sadness, just release. The kind of peace that comes when you stop carrying someone else's storm inside you. Rachel had moved out of state, I'd heard. Word was, she turned her nonprofit into something bigger. She was doing interviews, helping women restart their lives, using her mistakes as lessons. I never reached out. I didn't need to. Knowing she was standing again was enough closure for me. I used to think revenge meant watching someone crumble. Now I understood. It's watching them rebuild without you, realizing they lost the one person who truly cared. Life had a funny way of rewarding quiet persistence. My projects at work were thriving, and the company promoted me to senior manager. But the best part wasn't a raise. It was the satisfaction of building something honest again, something solid that couldn't be taken away by lies. And then there was Olivia. We never rushed anything. We met for coffee, then dinner, then long drives through the mountains when work got too heavy. She didn't ask for my past. She just gave me space to exist without judgment. There was one evening, though, that stayed with me. We were sitting by Sloan's Lake, watching the sun drop behind the skyline. She turned to me and said, "You know what's rare, Liam? Someone who can go through hell and still not lose their heart." I looked at her, the breeze brushing her hair across her face. I almost did, I admitted. But I guess losing the wrong person helps you find yourself again. She smiled, soft, genuine, and steady. Then maybe that was the point. That night, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't even haunted by what Rachel did. It was as if the pain had served its purpose, to teach me who not to be and what not to settle for again. A year after it all began, I got a message from an unknown number. It was short. "I heard you're doing well. I'm glad. Thank you for letting me fall hard enough to change." It was Rachel. I read it once, then set my phone down and smiled faintly. I didn't reply, not out of resentment, but because there was nothing left to say. Sometimes, silence is the most graceful goodbye. I walked to the window, the city lights reflecting off the glass. Behind me, Olivia was humming quietly, reading on the couch. The home felt warm, not because of wealth or luxury, but because it was built on honesty. And for the first time in a long time, I whispered to myself, this is what peace feels like. They say revenge is sweet, but they're wrong. Revenge is loud, messy, and short-lived. What's truly satisfying is peace. The kind that comes when you outgrow the person who broke you, when you build a life so stable that their memory can't shake it anymore. Rachel had her redemption. I had mine. And somewhere between heartbreak and healing, I learned the truth. Sometimes the best revenge isn't ruining their life. It's quietly thriving while they watch from the distance, realizing they taught you exactly how to live without them.